Yeah, so here's the function defined. Takes an x variable. It's a list actually. So we take the length as n first of all, and then we calculate the mean. It's very easy. We just sum over the list and then divide by n, so we get the mean. After that, the variance is equal to the sum of all such uh, elements, such that x minus mean the whole squared. It's just the same thing. The formula is just kind of copied into the list comprehension form, and then we square that for all x in x, and then divide by n minus 1. So it's the same thing like in the formula, and then we return the square root of that. Since this is the variance, the standard deviation will be the square root of that. So that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Sapna. So, did everyone get this? So, this is like the expected solution, and where you use this comprehension. It's okay if you don't use, right? So, this is one solution to the problem. Any questions with this solution?
Sir, in exam, all these library functions, some we can use, right?
Yeah. Unless it is explicitly, stated that you should not use. Mostly we mention that. Unless we mention that, you can continue using that. So, for example, sum is a very useful function. So, at this stage, you can go ahead and use. Okay, so I'll share the other solutions also. So this is Kushi solution. Okay, so we just go through the whole lot. I think something got truncated. Yeah, I don't know what got truncated, but this is supposed to be length of L minus 1. Right?
Yes, sir. Last two line was not.
Okay. Okay, so this is last line is. Okay, so can you explain your code, what you have done?
Yeah, yes, sir. Firstly, I have defined the function of mean of a list, initialized from with 0, and just iterated over the elements of the list and returned the sum by length of L. And then define the function standard deviation of L, initialize y to 0, and for each element of x, I just did x minus mean of the list by squaring it and adding it to y, the sum of all of them, and then just calculated the variance and then standard deviation and just returned as.
Okay, right. So this is also a valid solution. Just one small, couple of suggestions. You could maybe try avoiding this sum as a variable name, because it is a built-in function, right? That is one thing. The other thing is you could what you could do is this mean of L, you could initialize it once as say m or something like that, and then just use this variable here. Right. So this is the same as what you had written before, but the only thing is, if you were to write mean of L here, it could compute it for every iteration of the loop.
Okay.
Right. So that is some wasteful computation which you can remove if you just say this is the mean. I compute it once and then I reuse the value of the variable in every iteration.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. So that is the second solution. I will also take up Amit's solution and. Okay, so yeah, maybe I will just go over it. Right, so in the interest of time, so what he has done is he has computed the mean in the first few lines of code, right, and then he has computed the standard deviation. Right, so this is also a valid solution. All right, so this is another one, and finally we have Naveen's solution, which also we look at. Okay, so this is similar to Cauchy's solution in the sense that this computes the mean first using a function, right? And if you notice here, this is what I was mentioning earlier. So you just compute the mean once and store it in a variable. Let's say here it's been called mn, and then you keep using it in the for loop, right, to compute the standard deviation. All right. So these are all valid solutions to the this particular problem. I hope there are no questions. This should be fairly straightforward by now. Right, so I'm moving on. We have some more interesting problems coming up, namely this one. Okay, so let's spend some time on this problem. It's a fairly complicated one. Right, so you have a word, you have a string which contains parentheses of different types, right? So the flower brackets, the square bracket, round bracket, and whatever they are called. Right, and we define a string to be balanced when it satisfies all these three conditions. Right, so this will be very clear, right? So the number of opening parentheses should be the same as the closing parentheses of a given type. So if you have 5 of them of this kind, then you need 5 of them of this kind. Right, so that is the first one. All right, so that is the first one. The second condition is this one, right? So an opening parenthesis cannot be immediately followed by a closing parenthesis that's of a different type. So what I mean by that is, if you have, say, something like this, then I need this to be followed. Let's say some closing parenthesis follows this. It has to be this one, right? And it cannot be this or this. Okay, that is what the condition means. Right, so we'll come back to this again. The third condition is that every opening parenthesis should be eventually closed. Right, so for example, I have opened 2 of these brackets or parentheses. I need to close them somewhere. Right, so it could be, say, a bit delayed or very much delayed, but eventually I'll have to close whatever I have opened. Okay, so this is the basic idea behind the term balanced. Okay, so now I have a few questions which anyone can answer, which will tell us if you have all understood the term correctly. So there are 3 conditions, right? So what will happen if I leave out the third condition? Can you give me an example, a sample string that will break this rule if the third condition is not there?
If the number of open parentheses open not equal to close, then it will break the third.
Number of open not equal to close, you're saying will break the...
Yeah, if you have 2 open parentheses, either it is first, second, or third, but corresponding close, it's not less than 2 or less than n, then it will not satisfy that.
Okay, see, what I'm asking is, so I'll just give you a sample string. You tell me which condition it breaks. Okay, so this is a sample string. Okay, now which of these, maybe it's better if I copy this here, otherwise it could be tough. So what I'll do is, okay, so this is too big. Maybe I'll reduce the size. Okay, so this is, let's call it condition 1, condition number 2, and condition number 3. So this is the string that I am thinking about, right? So which of these three conditions is broken by this?
A
So it
third,
is second condition.
third, sir.
Okay.
Third one.
Some are saying second, some are saying third. So what is the? So you must give me an explanation for why.
So in third, it is saying that every opening parenthesis should be eventually closed by a closing parenthesis of the same type. But if I go to this string, then at index 2, the first open parenthesis is coming. But after that, as per condition 3, there should be two more close parentheses should be there, but that is not there.
Right, exactly, right. So the condition number 3 is being violated by this particular string. Okay, so now I want you to generate a string that will break the second condition, but it will still satisfy 1 and 3. So do you understand the question? I want you to give me a string, you can paste it in the chat, that will satisfy 1 and 3, but it will break 2.
So 2 should be broken and 1 and 3 should be satisfied, right?
Yeah. Some string which will satisfy 1 and 3 but will break 2. Okay, I have one answer. I'll copy it, but others also please try. I have two answers. Okay, right. So I'll just take up these two answers. These three. Now I have 3 to work with. Okay. Okay. So are all these correct? Right. So what about, let's take the first string. The number of opening parentheses should be equal to the closing parentheses of the same type, which is satisfied, right? So we have one open, one closed, one open, one closed, right? So one is satisfied. What about 3? Every opening parenthesis should be eventually closed. So that also happens. Everything that is open is eventually closed. But the second condition is not satisfied, right? So this opening parenthesis of this type is immediately followed by a closing parenthesis of a different type. Okay, so that breaks this particular condition. So this one is correct. Right, so you can convince yourself that this is also okay. Is this correct? Is the second one correct?
No, sir.
Okay, so there is this. What happens is this breaks both 1 and 3, right? 1 and 2. Correct. So we are breaking both 1 and 2. So this may not be the right one. The same with this, right? So this also breaks both 1 and 2.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Regarding condition first.
Yeah.
Number of opening parentheses of a given type is equal to the number of closing parentheses of the same type. So the opening parentheses should be equal to the number of closing parentheses, it is said. So okay, so if it is closing also, the opening one should also be there in the string. That is why first one is validated.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Right. So that is the reason. We have several others which have been given. So I'll just take up one of these. Right. So does this satisfy number 1? So we have 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2 which are open, 1, 2 which are closed, and see again this violates the first condition also, right? So this also breaks 1. Okay, so do we have anything else which breaks only the okay, what about this? Yeah, so this is valid, right? Because this only breaks two. We have open and closing of the same number, and everything that is open is eventually closed, right? So yeah, so this is an important exercise. We'll come to that later. Okay, so this is what we just saw. Now the next question is, can you give me a string which breaks 1 but doesn't break 2 and 3? So you need to break 1, but you should not break 2 and 3. Sorry, what did I? Yeah, 2 and 3 should be valid for this particular string, but it should break 1. 1 should not be valid. Okay, I have two answers. Let's look at this. Okay, so okay, I think this was for the previous one, right? So this I think is for the previous one. What about this? Okay, so this breaks 1 clearly because this is not matched by a closing 1. What about 2? An opening parenthesis cannot be, okay, that is satisfied. What about 3? Every opening parenthesis, it breaks 3 also, right? So this breaks 1 and 3. You're not closing this. Okay, I'll take one other. So this, let's see if this works. This clearly breaks 1. Sorry. Okay, so this clearly breaks 1. So, sorry, this breaks 1, yeah. And an opening parenthesis cannot be that is satisfied. Yeah, so this is correct. So did you get this? I mean, this could be confusing, but it's important to get this right.
9 is how number 9 is correct. That's
so, 9. See, 9. What happens is so the condition is maybe this 1, 2, 3 is a bit confusing. So 1 should be broken. This is what I want. 1 should be broken. 2 and 3 should be valid, right? So this is the condition that we are looking for. So in this one, what happens is 1 is broken, right? Because we have a closing parenthesis of this kind, and there is no corresponding opening parenthesis for it. So the number is uneven.
So sir, for 1, it is mentioned that number of opening parentheses should be equal to closing. So we should first check for opening. There is and in last line that which we have written correct, that 11th, like right now 11th line. So there one curly bracket is opening, it is closed by one curly bracket. One square bracket is opening, it is closed by one square bracket, and there is no further opening of the curly bracket.
Okay. Is, so I get your point. So this is
I think.
Yeah, this is a bit ambiguous. So maybe
we should check for openings only. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I get your point. I think that's what Afnan was also mentioning earlier. This is a bit confusing. So yeah, but now I think this should clear it up, right? So we have got several other responses also, but anyway, so this is
so sir.
Yeah.
So you were saying that means either opening or closing. Means any one is half. If it is opened, then it should be closed. If it is closed, then previously it should be open.
Yeah, right.
For one, it's like that.
Yeah, that is what 1 means. Okay, so yeah, and let's now move on. So why did we do all this? This is just to give you the sense that all 3 conditions are important, right? It's only in the combination of these three that this problem really makes sense.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in that string, no string will start from a closing bracket, right?
Yeah, no string will start from a closing bracket because of what? Can you tell me because of what condition it happens?
Because there is a condition that every opening bracket should be closed by a closing parenthesis. So if I open with a closing bracket, if I start with a closing bracket, then there will no way to close that before that.
Okay, actually the reason is, see, the reason you should not start with a closing parenthesis is because of condition one. Actually, if you think about it, uh, because of one, what I will do is I will be forced to add an opening parenthesis.
Okay.
Okay, and because I opened something, because of condition 3, I will have to close this.
Yes.
Right. So what this will do is this will lead to an imbalance. So this will violate condition 1. So it's because of one that we are actually cannot start with the closing parenthesis.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so there's a very interesting solution for this. But before we go to that, I want to know if anyone has solved this.
Sir, I solved it, but I only passed 4 out of 6 private keys.
Okay, can you share your code on the chat?
Yeah.
I have also solved it. I got 5 out of 6 correct.
Okay, we look at both.
Yeah, sir, I also solved it. I got all cases passed.
Okay, then we'll come to that also.
So I also got 5 cases passed.
Okay, how many test cases are there? Private cases?
6.
Okay, okay. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so is this if is not there, is it? I have to remove
No, actually, sir, I find that there are one more condition I have to by this if condition I satisfied some part, but there is something is left, so I just start writing, but after that I haven't completed that.
Okay, so what is your logic? Can you explain it?
Logic, sir, what I try to catch, I just try to figure out the index number. Okay, so if word of I means whatever it is, if it is a open, and the logic is when there is a open and that has to be closed. So if the index is A and the corresponding index is D for the open bracket, D minus A has to be greater than or equal to 0. If this is not true, then this is false. At every condition for a balanced string, this has to be there.
Okay, what if your string is, let's say, will this satisfy that condition?
Because every iteration, this index get updated. So initially it is 0, then it is updated to 1, then it is updated to 0, 1, 2, then it is 4, and the corresponding closing bracket updation is 1, then 3, then 5. So eventually 5 minus 4. So it will be greater than 0.
Okay, wait. So I maybe I didn't understand your question or your logic. So your logic you're saying is this, right? Let me know if I'm paraphrasing it correctly. So you are saying you are checking for the index of all opening all the brackets, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because in the condition, when you open something, you has to be close. So close come the later. So always later minus the previous has to be, if the string is balanced, if I check all these 3 conditions, I always get greater than equal to 0.
Okay. D minus A. So others also please think about it. This is not passing all test cases. That means it is going wrong somewhere, but you need to manufacture that test case.
Actually, sir, I am missing what I figure out. but I haven't coded that thing. With this, some part of condition is satisfied. But what I am missing, that part, I have to write one more condition to complete, to catch the whole thing. That I am not able to figure it out.
Okay. So every time, so the logic is, your logic is every time something is opened, you have to close it.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to understand how this thing gets executed. So A, B, C correspond to the indices of all opening parentheses and D, E, F for closing, right?
Right. Sir.
So you are pairing A with D. Okay, you are pairing A with D, B with E, and C with F.
Right.
Okay, so far so good. Now,
So what if the parenthesis interchanges, sir?
okay, can you give me one example, like interchange as in?
Yes, sir. I'll just drop in chat.
Yeah, so others also please give me some string which we can play around with.
Like this, sir.
Okay, like this, right?
This.
Okay, in this case, what will happen to the code? What will be the value of A?
This will return false because this is not a balanced string.
Yeah, but
This should return false, but it will return true in this code.
It is written true. Why? Because the closing parenthesis, the index is 0, and the opening parenthesis, the index is 1. So 0 minus 1 is minus 1 is greater than 0. No, so return false.
So I have pasted one string. Let's go down.
Okay. Another one is coming by our way. I see this. We are this.
Yes. Yes. Rachita, it's pasted the right thing, which in my case will return true. But I am missing this condition.
Yeah.
I have to incorporate this condition in my logic.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachita, can you explain why this will not work?
So because the second condition is violated, that because here the curly bracket is immediately followed by the closing bracket of round bracket. This is the violation of second condition. But in Summit's code, since all of the closing bracket indices are after the indices of the opening brackets, so the difference between closing and opening parentheses will always be greater than equal to 0.
Correct. That is why I am missing. Sir, how to? Yes, you are correct, Rachita. But sir, how to incorporate this into the same thing?
Once again, so I just want to understand what Rachita said. So you are saying everything that is closed, even though it's not closed in the correct order, it's just closed somewhere, and it's closed after it is open. That's why this is true, right?
So it is true because the closing bracket indices are greater than the opening bracket indices, but second condition is violated because the second condition says that the opening bracket of one kind has to be immediately followed by the closing bracket of the same kind.
Got it.
Yeah, curly bracket is closed by the round bracket.
Okay, so this is a very nice. What is this called? This is called
counter example.
Exactly, counter example. Right. So this is a counter example, not to the original question, but to this piece of code. Right. See, counter examples are very important, and if you can come up with a good counter example, it can solve you hours of debugging effort. Right. So this is very nice. I hope everyone got why this is a counter example for this particular piece of code.
No, sir. Can you please explain once?
Sir.
Okay, see what is happening is in Shomit's code, he's calculating the opening indices and storing them in A, B, and C. That is clear, right?
Right.
And he's storing the closing indices in D, E, F, corresponding closing parentheses in D, E, F.
Right.
Okay, so for this particular string, what is happening is the opening parenthesis is less than the closing parenthesis, right? So, sorry, B less than B less than E, right? P less than E and C less than F. Okay, so it is, see, you are opening it and then you are closing it after you open it. So the A will always be less than D, right?
Right, got it.
Right, but this violates the second condition in the actual problem.
Second condition.
Meaning open and closing should be of the same type, or rather, need not be of the same type, but if you have something open and you close it with something different, then you are going to violate the second condition.
Okay.
Okay, so far so good. Now that we see, I don't know how to fix this particular piece of code. So
Actually, sir, I just thought it.
Yeah.
So since it is a balanced, so the balanced string length has to be even number, right? Always.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I can open a thing till I go up to half. Initially, I thought it, but I haven't figured it out later. So I will track that. What is the open, even though I can something open and close at the last stage also. No.
Yeah. So that is the first one that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Sir, if we write anything first and then we add what I have texted at the end, the code will return true.
Yeah. I mean,
if we write anything in front of it, then afterwards, which because A, B, C, D, E, F are taking the number of I, so I will be replaced to these numbers. So if we write, it's just like
right. Yeah. So at this stage, what we have to do is we have to move on to some other piece of code, right? So Somit, you can keep working on your solution, maybe trying to make it better. I will look at someone else's. So can someone else post your code? Whoever writes already.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Sir, as Samit said that it should be of even length.
Okay.
If we slice it half and reverse it, that string, that should be equal.
Maybe may not be, because you open and close some first bracket in the first half, and you open and close some other parenthesis in the last half. So it may not be equal.
Yeah, so this asymmetry is there, right? So it's not symmetric. If you think about this, it's not a symmetric thing. So if you reverse it and say if I reverse this, it won't be the same as, the input string. Right? So if I reverse this, what will I get? Reversed fellow will be this one, right? I don't know if I'm doing it correctly, but something like this. Right?
Yes.
So that is why the reversing will not work. So let's now see other solutions and see if they take us anywhere. So take Kushi's and then Shwet's.
Sir, I got only 5 correct out of 6.
Okay, we look at yours next. So what I will do is, since this is, I just want to, sometimes this works. If you break this down into 2 separate lines, sometimes it doesn't work. But I'm just going to try that. And then we'll look at okay, so if I do this, will you still be able to see everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Kushi, can you explain what you have done?
Yes, sir. Am I audible clearly, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So first I'm checking the first condition, that the count of the opening brackets should be equal to the count of the closing brackets, the first condition.
Okay.
If all of them are equal, I will enter this if loop.
Okay.
If not, it will return me false.
All right. So that okay. Then
Yeah. Then I'm iterating over the word, and I'm checking in the first if loop. I'm checking if at any instance you find first the opening bracket and then the closing bracket of any type, you return me false.
okay.
Right?
Please come again to this point, please. This one.
Yeah. In the
Just now,
sixth
what is
line, in the if block.
after iterating on the for loop? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From this point, can you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
In the sixth line, I'm checking if at any instance, at any index, if you find first the opening bracket of one type and then the closing bracket of the other type, you just return me false.
Okay.
But here it is first closing, then opening, right?
Yeah, opening immediately followed by closing. Is that what you're saying? Or the closing followed by opening, right?
Closing followed by opening.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay.
So whenever you find some opening first and then closing of the same type, you return me false. And if it doesn't enter this if loop, if block, then it means it is satisfying one of the conditions. Then my two conditions are satisfied.
Okay.
Then I go to the last if block at line 8, and I'll check if the opening bracket of one type is immediately followed by the closing bracket of the other type. Then I'll return true.
Okay. So does this pass all test cases?
Yeah, yes, sir. It passed all test cases.
So one thing doubt.
I didn't get this line.
I didn't get it also because it was not passed.
Yeah.
Have doubted line 6.
Yeah. One
All
second.
questions.
Yeah. See this. I think this part is quite clear. This is satisfying one, right?
Yeah.
So this is clear.
Yeah.
Now.
That part is clear. Correct.
Yeah. Now. So you are checking if whenever you have a closing parenthesis and you immediately follow it by an opening parenthesis. Okay, so see, one thing I don't understand is how do you where does which two conditions should I take together? Like, should I take these two together and look at them, or so? Can you clarify on that part? See what you understand what I'm asking? See this. If I want to add parenthesis, see there are a lot of conditions connected together by and or state and or operators, right?
Yes, sir.
So which two operators should I club together and look at it? So how do I look at this line of code is what I'm asking.
Okay. Maybe the brackets would really clarify this.
Yeah. So if I open it here, where should I close it?
Before or, sir. Before the first or.
Okay. You are saying this is how it is. Okay. And then say I just move to the next line.
Next or after the or parenthesis will be there. Yeah.
Okay. So now this again I open it.
Opened and it will close up before the second or.
Before this one, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. Now
again to this.
Again open. And
okay,
close.
I close this and I close that. So okay, so this is how I need to understand this, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so what you're saying
is a double bracket, I think, in line 6.
Yeah, so I've opened it here, and so this is for the entire if.
It's correct.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now what you're saying is when you close something and immediately if you open it, then you are in trouble, you're saying, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, see, I'm just trying to build something. So when you...
Sir, I'm not able to understand one thing. Can I ask?
Okay, once again, Sumit,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also
yeah. Okay.
trying to understand this. So, Kushi, what would happen in this case?
Yeah. So first, if condition it will satisfy and enter.
Correct.
And the sixth, if block, it will not enter.
It will not enter. Huh? Okay, so wait one second. We'll take this to replicate because we can't execute custom things sometimes here.
Yeah, so I'm too confused how this passed all the tests.
I think so. This condition will fail the test.
Yeah.
We'll try. So I'm also not sure. Maybe it's because we haven't understood the code well. That could also be the case. So what I want to try out is what is the output of. So this is true, right? My question is, isn't this failing
Correct.
this particular case? But if it's not failing, see, what are you saying? What you're saying here?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, for this code, it will go for loop first, and in for loop, I will get the value 0, 0 first.
Okay.
So it will reject the first if loop, and it will go for.
Okay, because first is anyway correct, right? I mean, first it will not even enter. That what you're saying?
Yes, sir. It will directly go for the second if loop and return true. So it is not checking for the second bracket.
Yes.
Because
Because
if
it's
we
great break.
do something in the second bracket wrong, it will return us true.
Okay, I get your point. So, so this means this is kind of cleverly written code which ticks all the test cases, but it's close to the correct solution. So our test cases are deficient here.
But I think there's one test case that it should fail. I do think I couldn't find that.
Yeah. Can someone tell me if this? We have still not proven that this is correct.
This is correct. Can I explain, sir?
Please close the second bracket with square bracket.
Okay, but this will, as you said,
this is correct, sir. This
Yeah.
code is.
Yeah.
So the thing is, now in line 14, you have mentioned print balanced. Okay. So two round brackets are there, right? Two openings, two closes.
Right.
So it is checking. Okay, this is means it is just passing the first one, the first if condition. Count of number of openings, number of round openings equal to count of number of close openings. Yeah.
So this is correct. So see, I'll just try this out. See, this is where it fails, right? So Kushi, can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so but this is a very good attempt. But it's what this shows is we haven't added this to our. It will work for most of the test cases.
But sir, in this code, sir, how our second condition checked? That is also one question. Second is in the first if statement, every condition block it's written in OR. That means if the first condition is not true, but the second condition is true, then still it is written true.
Yeah.
And how this is our in condition second statement is checking And that part is not clear. Means our condition number 2, how that is satisfied here.
Yeah, right. So, see, in the interest of time, what I'll do is we just have enough time to look at different solutions, and unfortunately, we have to move on to the say official solution. But you can still, maybe you can post this code. All these codes can be posted on Discord, and we can take them up for more analysis.
Yeah, sir. I just have one question, sir. In the line number 10, what exactly she tried to mean? If Khushi can explain that in your line number 10, I didn't get that.
This line number 10.
Line number 10, she's trying to check if see this, every open bracket is eventually closed, but this could be problematic in some cases.
Sir,
right?
in Word, in line 14, just enclose the two bracket in curly bracket.
Yeah, so this one, right?
Yeah, I think this will fail.
No, see, we have already shown where it fails. That's not my point. Now the point is we have to move to the correct solution, right? So, in the interest of time, right? So, see, all these are good attempts at the end of the day. So, please keep. The point of showing counterexamples is just to, point you to places where the code could be going wrong. Okay, so now we'll come to one solution. This is not the final solution. What we'll do is we will maintain a list. So I don't know if you would have even thought of a list, but it's a good way to approach the problem. So what this list is going to do is rather than explaining it, let me write the code from the ground up, right? So for each character in Word, you are going to see if it is of the open type or of the closed type. Okay, so open type could be of this kind, corresponding closed type could be of this kind. Okay, so you go through each character in Word. If it is present in open, then you add it to the list. Okay, so in some sense, what this list is doing is L keeps track of open. Yeah, all open. Open condition, open parenthesis, whatever spelling I may be wrong, but yeah. Okay, so that is what you're doing. Right? You're keeping track of how many open brackets you have. Else, what you do is you are trying to close something, right? So here it's very important to ask the question: is the current or is the last character in L of the same type as, right? Only then you can close properly, right? See, L always keeps track of open parentheses, right? So that is something we have to keep in mind. Meaning L has only open parentheses at any point of time in the code. Okay, so these are the two conditions that I'm sticking with. So when I encounter something that is in C, what I do is I ask this question: is the last character in the list, is it the same as, is it of the same type? So how do I get the type? So this might be a bit confusing, but stay with me. So in the closing string, I am looking at the index of this character, and the corresponding open parenthesis will be O of that value. Okay, so There are different ways to do it. There is one command that I would like to introduce at this stage. Okay.
So the code is bouncing.
Sorry?
The code is getting, means it's, I'm not getting the code.
Yeah.
Okay, you first write down then.
Sure, yeah. We'll come to that, right? So it won't, if you understand it in the first go, it is, something is, I would even say something is wrong, right? So maybe you have not understood it properly. So we'll come to this, certainly we'll come to this. See, what I'm trying to say is, okay, so finally executive L is empty, right? So it's a very simple 17-line code, but we'll try to see what happens. First of all, I don't even know if this will work correctly, right? So let me check if this even works. Oh God. Highly unlikely, but we have to see. Okay, so list index out of range. Wonderful. So apparently the list became empty here itself. So we probably need to check.
Sir, we can check if the word is even or odd in length.
Yeah, true. That is, we could do that. I just want to present this one approach. Okay, it's the correct. It could be correct, right? Again, it's yeah. Okay, so did anyone understand this?
I didn't understand line 14.
Okay. So I'll start from first, right? So the basic idea is you keep track of only open parentheses, and whenever you come up with a closing parenthesis, you just keep closing the values in L. Okay, so that is the basic idea. We'll take one example and stick to that. Let's say, okay, this is a simple example. So what L, essentially we want L to do is, L should initially be empty, and then you add an opening parenthesis, then you add another opening parenthesis, and then one more. And then the moment you encounter a closing parenthesis, what you do is you remove this fellow from the list L. And the moment you encounter another closing parenthesis, you remove the other opening parenthesis. Okay, and finally, when you encounter this, you remove that also. So eventually, when you do all this operation, your list L should be empty. Okay, and that's what you're checking here. Okay, this is the basic idea behind the solution. Is the idea clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so idea, just the idea, right? Not the entire code. So this is what we are doing here by initializing L to an empty list. These are the opening and closing parentheses, right? So I am just storing them in a string. And we iterate through the characters in Word. Whenever we come across an opening parenthesis, we append it to L, right? So this is this process. So L will here look like this after 3 iterations of the code. And if we come up against a closing parenthesis, okay, what we do is we get hold of the index of the closing parenthesis. So it could either be 0, 1, or 2. So this fellow will be 0, 1, or 2, right? The index of the closing parenthesis. So what O of this gives me is the corresponding opening parenthesis. Okay, is that clear?
So one question.
Yeah.
So repeat once more this line number 16.
16.
So one thing I need to comment that this O and C lists are there. O and C strings, line number 7 and line number 8. So you have mentioned first round bracket, then square bracket, then curly bracket openings. And in C string, you have mentioned the round bracket closing, square bracket closing, and curly bracket closing. And if we differ this, then this code won't work. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should the mapping should be exact.
Yeah, mapping should be exact. What should be the means? O mapping should be equal to the means opening mapping should be equal to the closed mapping, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this L dot pop will remove the last element always from the list.
Yeah. So we'll come to that. So this part, right? This part is what I am essentially doing is.
It's clear, sir. I got it.
Yeah. So I'll just explain it once more just to be safe. So if char is C, is say this, then last will be the corresponding opening bracket, right? So if is this one, then last will be, and likewise if then last will be. Okay, this is what we are doing here. So we are just getting the equivalent opening parenthesis for character. Okay, so now that we have that, we are checking if L of -1, the last opening parenthesis in L, is of the same type as this character, right? So this is condition number 2. What we are checking here is condition 2. If you remember, this is the second condition, right? If we have an opening parenthesis, it cannot be immediately closed by a closing parenthesis of a different type. Okay, and
yes.
Yeah, L dot pop will remove the last character from the list L. If so, in order to do this, we need to know if the list is empty or not, right? So, what this will save us against is something like this, right? So, if your word starts with the closing parenthesis, then L will be initially empty, and you are trying to remove or close something which has not been opened in the first place. So that is why we need to have this extra clause.
But sir, if L is equal to empty, you return false. But the empty list is always balanced, right?
Empty list is balanced, but not when. Okay, so see this is the state of the list to begin with. It's empty, and then you have the first open bracket, and then you have the next open bracket, and then you have one more. Is it? You have. Okay, we never had this one, right?
No, sir.
Okay, I think it is executing. Okay, I think it's executing this one, and I need to override this one here. So still not loading. Okay. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. I'm just I'll first print this, and then it will also print all the list values. Okay. Please, this is not getting printed here. Oops. Did you catch what was happening? I had duplicated the function somehow. Okay. So this is what PPA can, does anyone know, remember?
So 5.
Okay, we are still in 5. Okay. See what is happening is this is the input, right? So initially the list is empty, and then we add the first opening parenthesis, and then the floor bracket, what is this, curly brackets, right? And then when we encounter a closing bracket, what we do is we match this with this one. Okay, so we remove it from, so moment you have a match, moment you have a valid match, you remove it.
Right, sir. Got it. Right.
Okay, so line 15 to 16, what it does is, if a valid match is found, remove the opening bracket. Okay, that is what 15, 16 is doing. If it is not a valid match, then it means you are violating one of the conditions, right? So something like this is happening, or something like, say, this is happening. So you have to return, you can return false then and there.
Yes, clear, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please reverse the first closing and second closing bracket?
First closing and
second closing.
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay. This
in
will
line, line 2 word.
Line what?
In line 2 word.
Yeah.
So whatever you told was, sir, just the simple idea, but it is not very intuitive, sir. I mean, I can never come to this code on my own.
Right. See, this is not my code also, right? So this is somewhere there is this. Some of you might have done CS in 11th and 12th, if I'm not wrong. So there they teach you this business of stacks and queues, which you will study in the next course. Okay, so this is some kind of what is called a stack. So this is not like very easy to come up with in the first place. So I totally agree. Right. So see, the basic idea is, in fact, I have maybe not given you the exact terminology. Is what is called a stack. Okay, a stack is nothing but think about it like a stack of books. So you keep piling things on top of one another, right? And when you want to remove something, you can only remove a book from the top of the pile, right? So that is the idea that is basically operating here. So you keep piling the opening parenthesis into this list, and you can remove it from the list, right? Only from this end, only from the right end. Okay, and when can you remove it? You can only remove it if it is of the same type. Right. So yeah, I agree that this is not something you can arrive at, in the first go. But yeah, just to give you a taste of what is there. Okay, so we have to move on. The next question is, you have to encode the string that you accept from the user and encrypt it in this manner. Right, so A should be replaced with Z, B with Y, likewise U with F, T with G, S with H. Okay, I think there are several ways to do it. So has anyone solved this? Can we see that solution?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But mine is not very smarter way, but I did it in this way.
Okay, so 2 of you have presented. 3 of you. So we look at 3 solutions, right? In this order in which you have given it to me. Okay, so this is Kushi's solution. What you have done is, so I just go over it and explain it. Okay, so you are going through. You have created this mapping, right? So alpha and beta are the upper and lower rows, right?
Right.
So this is the upper row and this is the corresponding lower row. Okay, and for each character in the input, if it is present in the upper, so if it is present in the upper row, then this is the corresponding encrypted version of it, right? In the lower row. Likewise, if it is present in the lower row, then this is the encrypted version in the upper row. Okay, so this is a valid solution. This is one solution. So did everyone get uses the if you look at it with the image, it will make a lot of sense. Okay, so Rachita, you want to explain this?
Yes, sir. So essentially the idea I am using is similar to the matrices, like whenever we are doing the diagonal thing. So the first index, I think I should not confuse it. I'll not confuse it with the concept here. So what I'm doing is, if I'm taking A, then A will be mapped to Z, and the index of A is 0, and Z, because there are 26 letters, so the corresponding index for Z would be 26 minus the index of I minus 1. So it's like 0 is mapping to 25, and 1 is being mapped to 24, and 3 is being mapped to 0, 1, and 2 is being mapped to 20, 24, 23. It's going like that. So I have defined the mapping in that sense.
Right. Right. So that is the short solution, right? So this is an interesting observation that if you make, your code will become smaller, right? So if you move by x units from the front, then you move by x units in the reverse direction.
Right? Yeah.
So if you move by I1 units in the front, then you move by these many units in the back. So this 26 minus 1, you could say 25, but yeah, that is just to balance the zero indexing. So this is 25 minus I1.
Right.
Okay, so did everyone get this solution?
Yes, sir, clear.
Right, so yeah, with that we move on to two more solutions.
So just one more small question can I ask?
Yeah.
Although may not be so relevant to this discussion, but here is the shifting is very uniform, right?
Yeah, here it's uniform, yeah.
What else if it is haphazard, means some other pattern, then how to encrypt it, that one?
Then you have to see if it's a random pattern, right? Then you have to do letter by letter. There is no other go. But if there is some uniformity like this, then we can make use of that. Right? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is Afghan's. Okay. I think it's very similar. Only so Afnan, only one thing I don't follow. Do you need this 26?
Actually, I thought that once we reach the end of the alphabet, so we have to kind of wrap around and then start from the beginning. So that is why I used the modulo operator. But I've seen the previous solution, it was just a subtraction. So I think now that can also be used. So just make sure that we don't overflow, so that I use the modulo, but I think it is not required.
Right. So see, even the alpha is anyway only 0 to 25, and your C is also going to be one of these 26 letters, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So anyway, but this is also the same. In fact, this is the same solution as that. I would say it is the same, right? So I think it is the same. It has been written in a different form. Right. So these are two solutions which are identical. Finally, we have one dictionary solution by Nomit. You want to put that also here. Okay, this is also a smart way of doing it. You just make sure you map each word to each corresponding encrypted, each letter to its corresponding encrypted version, and then you just go over the string. And yeah, so this is what you would go for if your encryption or your
Encrypt is an empty string or what?
if your the string you're using to encrypt it is kind of like totally random, then there is no other go but to rely on a dictionary to map letter by letter. Right, so that is this problem, and let us do 7th one. Okay, so is the problem clear? For everyone?
Clear, sir.
Okay, so you keep rotating this by moving elements from the back and inserting them at the beginning. Right, so you have to perform k rotations, and the input list you have to accept it as input and also the value of k. Okay, so let's look at some solutions that have already been shared in the order in which they have been shared. So Naveen's solution is this. Okay, Naveen, you want to explain the approach?
Yes, sir. I have used a recursive approach. If that m becomes 0 at that many times we have rotated the list, it was like we have done in init list earlier in one of the PPA we have done. I have used that same that concept. Just here that it will be m-1. The moment it is rotated 5 times, then the last list will be returned. So none of the elements I am taking out. I am just adding last element to the first place and removing the last element from that list. That's it.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I didn't think of a recursive solution at all, but this is nice. So you were,
sir, one
yeah.
thing. All the test cases I'm passed. Just one of the basic thing I just forgot. Sir, I'm getting that now 1, 2, 3, and then comma. That thing one of PPA you have done, but somehow I missed that. That point, kindly clear me that point.
Yeah. So that one is that will come to that, right? So I will come to that. You are trying to, you are not printing it, right? So that is what you're saying here. You are not printing it, but
yes. If I print it now, then I got that problem.
Okay, so
this is addressed in my solution. The printing part, what he is referring, I printed that without that comma.
Yeah. So see, See, what we'll do is there is one nice way of printing it, which I think now you can. Now it's like can learn this trick. It's a nice trick. If you're at least now is Replit open or no, Replit is dead. Okay. See, if you have a list of words, right? If you have a list of words, say, I'm calling this also a word. And if you want to print this, then there is one string method called join. Okay, just which is like a reverse of split in some sense. Right? So if you pass a list of strings to this join method, then it will give you what you're looking for.
Okay.
Right? So let's try to print it. So you notice that this is the output you get. Okay, so this, of course, you can do it using the laborious way of which we taught you in the beginning. But now I think you are all advanced enough to use this. Okay. So this joins a list of strings using this delimiter.
Okay.
Okay, but this won't, remember that this won't work if your list is made up of integers, or this is a string method. So this is very important to know. And if you try this, it will throw an error, namely, where is that? the error it will give you is type error, expected string instance, instead int is found. Okay, so whenever you use this particular way of joining a sequence of words together using a comma, make sure that they're all strings.
Okay.
Okay, but this will solve the problem. Let's make sure that it does. Also, one other suggestion is your function definition should always go at the beginning. Okay, so your function definition should always precede the code that you write. So you get the input, number of rotations. So what is this L.append?
So that won't work now. Then integers are there. Na? I have appended L append integers.
Yeah. So what you can do is you can make it even simpler and just say L is equal to this one, right? It's a list of strings.
Okay.
In this case, it will work because and where are we doing result of? Say I'll just say input list, in list is this, and this is the number of times you want to rotate. This is the in list, and I'm storing the result in out list. Okay, so this will, let's see what we get. Okay, so this is one valid solution, but I want to return to the, okay, basic passing only 3 out of 5. Are we missing something? Oh, okay. See, the problem could be very large test cases. So if you are asked to do, say, if you're asked to do something like so slow, man, this is. Okay. Oh, it's probably it's waiting for my input. Okay. Okay, so this code will fail in this particular case, for which you have to be ready, right? Right. So if you do something beyond 1000 or beyond the recursion limit that is set for your system, it will throw a recursion error. Because it's a private test case, you are not able to see that error.
Okay.
Right. But otherwise, the logic is correct. But the only thing is that you will face this recursion problem when you get to huge lists. Not huge lists, but huge values of rotations.
Okay, but then, sir, unless and otherwise asked us to solve this through recursive way, we should not do that.
Yeah, it could be dangerous if you try that because of this recursion limit. Because you don't know, right? I could make you rotate it 10,000 times. So no matter what how you increase your recursion limit, you might end up facing a problem.
But there is a workaround for this actually, in order to not exceed the recursion limit. So what is happening is the rotation, they will continue. So basically what is happening is the rotation will go up to a maximum until the length of the list.
Exactly. Very nice. Yeah.
So we can do mod. So we can rotate like m mod length of n times. That way the maximum recursion problem will be solved until and unless the list will exceed probably like more than 1,000 or 10,000 elements.
Yeah. Very, very good point. Yeah. So did everyone get that point?
No. Please come again.
So see this. Okay. So see what happens if you Okay, let's try a few rotations of this particular list. So this is one rotation. Now I'm just going to try 2. So this is 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. And then this is 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Right? Then if you try 4 rotations, you get 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And finally, if you hit 5 rotations or any multiple of the length of the list, you will end up with the same list.
Oh, then we will divide that iteration to the length of the list. And then
Yeah, so that's what Rachita mentioned, that you can take the mod, right? So if you take the mod, then only that many iterations you have to do. So if it is, see, if m is going to be a multiple of, maybe we'll try that, right? So that is an interesting exercise since we have started going in this direction. If m percentage the list, right? So I'm used to capital L, so I'll just do that. Okay, so these are all some peptide guidelines that if you follow, it will be good. Okay, so then you can just, so what should I return here?
So if it is true, then we should return the list itself.
Right. So we just return the list. If not, what should we return?
Else.
If not, we return basically what I actually used this logic in my code as well. So I just defined another number n as m divided by m mod length of L, and I just returned it n.
Okay, and then you return?
So in the return statement where m minus 1 is there, I think n minus 1 should come here.
Okay, we'll just try this. So I need some. Okay, so if you rotate the list 2 times, what will you get? If you rotate the list 2 times, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so rotating it 10,002 times is the same as rotating it 2 times, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a very good approach. An important nuance to understand why the recursion limit. Yeah, that's a very good observation. Right, so why there is a recursion limit? Okay, recursion limit, but how do you? First, I thought so. I was also in the dark, so I thought that there's no way to fix it, but this is a very good way to fix it.
But so it will fail if the length of the list is like very large. So if we have a very large list, then this will fail because m mod n will turn out to be again, I think, a very large number.
True, right. But let's assume that we can maybe take that allowance that we are not going to have such big lists. Yeah, but this is the variation on that earlier solution so that we don't hit recursion error. Okay, so I hope everyone got this.
Nice one.
Okay, yeah, very nice solution. We'll now move on to the next solution.
So move to the next problem, sir.
Okay, it's also a good one, but I just want to make just one thing I want to introduce. So it could be good to know this. What Afnan has written is actually in some sense what we have also written as the official solution. It is good to know this because it will come in handy in a later problem. Okay, so this you already know, all of you already know, just know we just told this. So this also K is anyway the number of rotations. So what we are doing here is, it's a very nice clever trick of popping the last element and inserting it at the beginning. right? So this is typical Pythonic code, right? So if you want to call a code Pythonic, right? So this is typical Pythonic code because you make use of the powers that the language has to offer, right? So it's good. There are several things happening here. So did everyone get this?
What this code is doing, sir? L dot pop means pop the last element, and 0 means it will add to the first element.
Yeah, so 0 is the position where you want to insert a given element. Right? So if you say L dot insert of 1, 2, then it will insert that particular place. So for example, so this is Afnan's solution. I should mention that it's not my solution. I copied it from the console, the chat screen. So say L dot insert of, I want to insert the element 5 between 2 and 3. So I want to insert it at this position. Okay. Sorry, I just reversed the orders. Okay, so this has to be this can be a bit confusing. So this is my list. I want to insert the element 3 at in between 2 and 4. Okay, so I want to insert the element 3 in between 2 and 4. So 0, 1. Right? Sorry, so this works the other way, I believe. So that is generally why if this is avoided at the early stage of learning, because this can be getting to know exactly what could be confusing. So I have confused everyone, so I'll just repeat it again. You want to insert the element 3 at index between indices 1 and 2, right? So this 3 should become the index 3, the index 2. So what I do is in L dot insert at index 2, insert the element 3. Okay. So if I want to insert the element 6 at index 0, what I do is at the index 0, insert the element 6. Okay, so what Afnan has done is I want to move the element 5 to the beginning of the list. So what I do is I insert at the index 0 the last element that I remove from the list. So L dot pop has this interesting characteristic that it will remove the last element from the list and it will return that particular value.
Okay.
Means to say it will remove the last element and put it in the first initial of the list.
That is what this entire command will do, but L dot pop alone will do. So if L is this, if you say x equal to L dot pop, it will just remove the last element and give it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks Afnan for that solution.
But for the here also, when I am writing L dot insert 0, L dot pop, that L is the list is not shrinking. List remains same.
Yeah, list remains same.
Since I have written in this fashion, that is why.
Yeah, so if you are to just write L dot pop, then the list will shrink. But since you are inserting at 0 the last element that you have just removed, L's size remains the same.
Okay, that means if I rotate this in length of the list eventually get reversed. No, it will be back to
the original list.
Same position. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is good to know because this can be very useful at some time during when you're solving certain problems. Okay, we return to the balanced. Okay, so we will stop with this problem. Okay, this will be the last problem in this session because it could be a little hard, all new problems, and So does everyone get the idea of what the nesting depth is?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
See, this is very closely tied to PPFI, right? So PPFI, if you remember, is that whole balancing thing. In that balancing thing, what we understood was when can you call a particular string balanced, right? So that is what we saw. PPA8, what we are asking is, you will just have this type of bracket. Either it's only the, what is this called? Round brackets, right? Now, it is balanced, right? So you don't need to worry about balancing it. It is already balanced. So everything which is open will be closed, and the second condition that we saw there is not even going to arise because you have only one type of brackets. Okay, so the nesting depth is nothing but when you have one pair of parentheses inside another, right? So how deep does it go? So for example, this is one. Inside this one, you have one more. Inside that, you have another one. So you have, so this is at level 3 or depth 3.
Means the size is shrinking.
Yeah, so the size, we have shown it to be shrinking so that you can get the sense of what is happening.
And sir, why it is written 2?
This is 2, right? Because this is...
No, before this. After 1 and this small.
This one, right? Because this is inside this. See, every pair of parentheses is going to be inside something, right? Except for those which are at the outermost level. Those which are at level 1 are going to be the outermost. So for example, this is not within anything. There is nothing enclosing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this particular fellow is being enclosed by something else.
Okay.
And likewise, this is also being enclosed by this.
Okay.
Okay, so does everyone get the idea of what nesting depth means? No?
Yeah.
Okay, so now here is one interesting thing that we are going to do, which is we are going to bootstrap this particular solution and see how it can be modified to solve this particular problem. Okay, so you have to write depth of expression. That is what you need. Now the question is, can you bootstrap this particular solution? And so you have to return some value here, right? The nesting depth, the maximum nesting depth. Okay, by the way, the question is asking you for the maximum nesting depth. Okay, so innermost bracket, whatever nesting depth it has, that is what you have to return.
Okay.
Okay, so with this background, can someone finish this particular code? So can someone extend this?
Can we start counting as a count variable from line number 15 onwards?
One second, I'll just remove the unwanted things because we don't have so many types. We have only one type, which is one open. So if char in O is also not needed. So if char is double equal to opening, then you append it. If not, I don't even need this. So I just check if it is equal to closing. Okay, so this is the, now please start. Now please start.
No, saying just whether we can introduce a count variable.
Okay, where do you want to introduce it?
That where it is start at this stage in line now after line number 10.
After line number 10
means when the last element is equal to this.
Can't we initiate in the beginning? I mean, increment at after 10, after
yes.
11.
Yeah, count initially.
Okay, so Yeah, maybe that particular expression we need. Otherwise, it can be very confusing. So let's say this is too big. Let's take this. Assume that this is the expression we are dealing with. Okay. So how would we
What if we initialize a list every time we encounter an opening bracket? So inside the for loop, every time we encounter an opening bracket, since the expression is balanced, if we initialize a list here and like I'm just thinking out aloud, so let's write it down. So and we keep on appending opening brackets into the list, and like whenever we encounter the first closing bracket, so at that point of time we check the length of the list and we store it in some value, and as soon as we encounter a closing bracket, so since the expression is balanced, uh, then I think all the opening brackets should be closed by that time, and the length of the list at that point of time, we can store it in some value, and that might be the return value. And like at every stage, whenever we encounter another opening bracket, we initialize a new list and check the length of the list until we encounter another closing bracket, sorry. And if that value and if the length of the list at that point of time is greater than the original value, that will be the new maximum. Can we do it something like that?
What she said, just initialize one list. We will collect. What we will do, we will start a count variable. So whenever we encounter a opening bracket, we will increase our count. And when we encounter this closing bracket, then whatever count value is counted, we will store that in the list and the count reset to 0. And again, we go move. When we encounter the opening bracket, again, your count started. And when we encounter the closing bracket, then whatever count value, we append that to list. In this fashion, in this way, we will have a list having some value. And then we just sort that list and take the maximum value from the list. That will be our return.
Can I interrupt one thing?
Directly use variable max. We can keep track of the count and the max, and if another string crosses that maximum amount, we can replace it and we can print the max directly at the end.
Okay, so three of you have
or else we are returning this return value, right? DL. So we can just increment the value after the popping. Number of times it is getting popped, that much of closing is there.
Okay, so yeah, so what you or Arya and Tamil Selvan mentioned is pretty close to the solution, right? So I will stick to what they. Of course, the first two approaches could also be valid. We have to spend some time coding it, right? But if you want to,
sir, you can modify this just after popping. No, means the number of times the closing bracket is popped. You just save a value. The value means whatever the value max of val. So number of times the closing so it should be appended to a list, and within the list the maximum will be given to the solution. That will be the power. That index, the depth power, I think.
True, yeah. So we could either do when we pop it or when we open it, because it's balanced, right? So what you said is correct. So what I will do is I'll just say whenever I add a new opening parenthesis, I will increment my count. Okay, so I start with 0, right? Initially, there is nothing open or closed. Every time a new parenthesis is added, count increases by
We
1.
need to store this count in a list, right?
We'll see that, right? So the moment I encounter something like this, I ask this question: is it greater than whatever I have seen so far? Right? If so, I update it. So will this work?
Yes. This also.
Okay.
And
So
what is max value?
max.
We have to define max well. Yeah.
Okay, let's try this. I am not 100% convinced myself because we need to listen a bit more before we can convince ourselves that this is the correct answer.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
The input we are expecting will be always be balanced, right?
Yeah, input will always be balanced.
Okay, so can that approach be used? Like we start from the leftmost of the string,
Okay.
right? Each time we encounter an opening bracket, we'll increment the count, right? The depth, increment the depth. Each time we close, we will decrease the depth by 1. So opening bracket, increase the depth by 1. Closing bracket, decrease the depth by 1. And at each iteration, we'll also check if that is the current depth is exceeding the maximum depth. If that is the case, then that will be the maximum depth. And finally, we'll print that once we come to the end of the list, end of the string, sorry.
Right, but my question is...
So in that case, I think that we don't need a list. Is that the case?
Yeah, see, we have... True, I get your point. I need to think a little bit more about that, right? So I just finished.
All right, sir. I have a similar kind of solution. So can I post that?
Yeah. So
all right.
Let us just to make sure that this works. We are passing 1 out of 2.
So this example you have given, this is the of depth 2, right?
This one is of depth 2.
Yeah, but the code will it's counting for every bracket, no? So it's even the last opening and closing, it's counting that also. That's why we are getting 3, I think.
Okay, we are going wrong somewhere. Can you tell me where we are going wrong, or for this?
It should actually if you go down to that example.
This one, right? This example.
Yes. So after the 1, 2, 3, 4th element.
After else part, it should initialize to 0.
Yeah.
Got it. So should it initialize to...
Rather than initializing to 0, we can just decrement it by 1.
Every time you encounter a closing bracket.
Yeah.
It also seems a valid argument. I think this is what Afnan mentioned. Before we go to a solution, we just get this working. Okay, right. So I'll just finish this and then we will. Yeah, thanks to Vivek and I don't know who else for pointing out the error. Right. See, what is happening is we are counting the number of times we open. Okay, but we just keep on opening and we don't seem to close it at all. So whenever we close, we have to get the count back to 0. Right, so that we are ready for the next round of evaluation, right? So this is one approach.
Sir, one thing I would like to mention that we don't need popping here, like line number 12. There is no need of that, I think.
Yeah, since it's balanced, we don't need that. So that's what that's the exact point which no one was mentioning. I just copy his code. And I will present that. That will be a more better version, I believe. So what we essentially do is, if you want to correct this particular piece of code itself, you get rid of all this because it's going to be balanced, right? And okay, so this is the problem with this is the disadvantage of working on a previous solution and trying to make it better. So, or rather, making use of that to solve some other problem. That is one disadvantage which we saw. Right. So I hope this is clear, right? We don't need the list at all in this place.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is exactly what Nan pointed out. So it's a fun solution. Hope you see the beauty of it.
Yeah, this is similar one, but less clear, I guess.
Sorry?
This is a similar solution, but with less clear sense of verbose, I guess.
Right. So no, I maybe yeah, but I think it's quite clear, right? So whenever you hit a open bracket, you increment the count, and whenever you when you hit a closed parenthesis, you decrement the count, and you make sure that whenever you exceed the existing maximum depth, you update the maximum depth, and you return the maximum depth. Okay, thanks for the solution. This is very good.
But sir, how it is working means so k is ultimately after for loop, k is ultimately going to 0. So means after one balance after one balancing it is going to 0, right?
Yeah. So what will happen is this is being updated within the loop, right? So not outside the loop. Right, and that's why we make use of the fact that it's balanced. So if it is, so this, when you come to this maximum depth expression, when you have, say, okay, so when you come to this maximum depth wala, you will hit the closing parenthesis only after you hit the opening parenthesis, right? So in some sense, k will be maximum and k will rise, keep on rising, and then it will come to 0. So you catch hold of it when it is at the maximum position. Was that clear or? See what I mean is. See, when you print this, you will notice the pattern in which k moves. So, for example,
come again. This if part means k is okay. That's okay.
No, I want to just pass this particular thing through. If you keep printing the value of k, right, you will notice that it rises. It's like it hits a peak value and then it comes down. So, see, 0, 1, 2, and then it drops to 1, and then it goes to 2, 1, 2, then it hits a peak, and then it keeps on reducing. Okay, ignore this last 3, this is because of the function call. But otherwise, you start from 0, hit a peak, and then go down. Okay, so did everyone get this solution? This is like the simplest solution to the problem. Simplest, but not easy to arrive at, but still.
Yes, this is clear.
It's working fine.
Yeah, we didn't test that, right? Yeah, we'll test that. I think it should work fine. Okay, so we have done 8. We've done 8. Is 9th one easy? 9th one is also easy in the sense that you just have to plug in some formulas and then you will be done. So do we want to finish this or shall we move to next session?
Next
session. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So this is one request to all those who are at least all those who attend the sessions is to try these out and come with the solution that will be very useful. Let me see, at least if you can try specific problems, that would be good. So Just looking for some interesting problems. 11 and 12 are good. 11 and 12 are similar. 13 is interesting. Maybe you can try 13.
Yeah, I am done with this, sir, I think.
Right. So 14 is also quite interesting. 14, 15. So 11 to 20 are harder than 1 to 10. They have some non-trivial stuff that you have to do. 16 is okay. 17 is also quite interesting, a bit visual.
17 is released?
Yeah, we released it today.
Okay. I have done 16. I will be doing next.
Right. So 19 is very challenging. So I request all of you to try 19. If you have worked with spreadsheets, then you must know all this, how this naming convention works, right? So after you hit Z, you will go to A, B. So your column labels will keep moving this way. So the question asks you, if you're given some arbitrary string, what column is it? So is it the 18,207,878th column is ZZZ, right? So your test cases will be quite interesting if you look at it. You have one huge test case which corresponds to this particular column number, right? So that is one. And finally, it's like something to do with classes, it's routine stuff. Okay, so please work on these things. We'll resume from problem 9 on Tuesday.
Sir?
Tuesday we'll start from problem 9.
Okay. So the third one was discussed?
Which one?
Third one.
Third one, yeah. Last session it was discussed.
No, actually someone was sharing the solution, but it wasn't passing all the test cases.
Yes,
So you
sir. It
told
wasn't
something.
passing all the test cases. Only 3 were passed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. For this one, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to see if it surveys or not, right? So survival 30 plus x squared plus y squared minus 3x minus 4y. So this is what 30 plus is it 30 plus x squared plus y squared minus 3x minus 4y. So this is actually called a paraboloid, right? If you try to plot it using some, it look like a parabola but rotated in the z direction. So you want to look at this metal plate, right? So the metal plate has this extent of x comma y being in the range 1 to 5. Therefore, 1 to 5 or 0 to 5? What is it? 0 to 5. So we have to just stick to range of 6 then. So in this range, you want to see if the temperature at any stage is less than or equal to the threshold, right? And if it is less than or equal to the threshold, then our organism will survive, right? If for no value it's going to be less than or equal to the threshold, then it means it can't survive. So I think that is all this code is. Does it pass all test cases? Okay, so that's the basic idea. So the basic idea is to find out the minimum value or go through each of the 25, how many? 6 cross 6, right? So this is 0 to 5 cross 0 to 5. So you have 6 by 6, 36 points that you have to check. So in all these 36 points, you have at least one point whose temperature is less than or equal to the threshold. Only then the organism will survive. So the moment you find one such point, and as it is given in the question, the organism will instinctively move to the region of low temperature.
Means he will survive the region of low temperature and he can't survive high temperatures.
Yeah, it can't survive in high temperature. So if you cannot find even a single region out of these 36 points,
we will return false.
you have to return false. Okay. All right. So that completes first 8 problems.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, I am having some problem regarding the class. Class introduced in class of Python. So, will you be able to?
Yeah, we will take it up in the next session. So we have 2 more revision sessions. So ideally, the way it goes, we may have the 5th one also because we have only done 8 out of 20. So we are doing 4 per session. So if we have to complete 20, we need 3 more sessions. So yeah, hopefully we can discuss in one of these sessions.
Okay, sir.
We have
Can't,
2 more sessions.
can't
right?
we have that session tomorrow?
No, tomorrow won't.
Tomorrow we have already scheduled it on Tuesday and Thursday. So tomorrow might be tough. What we can do is we can maybe try to schedule one on say Monday or
Yes.
something
Because
like
we need a lot of practice for all these things. No? Now the syllabus is wider.
Right. Yeah.
And sir, level of the exam will be the same as of second one?
More or less. So it will be somewhere say between 1 and 2. Right. So
Sir,
yeah.
I got a mail that I got a warning in that
Yes,
my last.
here.
Yeah. So that we will come up with a formal response to it. So the operations team is working on a response which will be shared with all of you. So explaining what this warning is, what alerts are, right? So that we will, get back to you, right? So that is like a separate thread. I hope you have all seen that, right? In operational issues in discourse, there is one running thread. Right. So in that particular thread, we'll get back to you. OPP results and quiz course. That is the name of the thread.
Where, sir? In that discourse?
In the operational issues category, there is one thread, one post called OPP results and quiz course.
Okay.
We will post a response there.
Okay.
Sir, will there be any questions from Matplotlib?
No. Matplotlib we can't ask because it is in both theory and in programming. It won't be there.
So we can expect questions from week 9 and 10 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, week
11 don't have.
Very important. Week 9 is file handling, right? So you need to know file handling.
Week 9 and week 10 are both.
Both are important. Yeah.
Okay. So we can expect a mix of all the weeks.
It will be a mix of, it won't be, so from week 1, we won't ask anything. Like you already know how to print stuff, right? So that's just printing and string. So, but from every other week, we'll have questions.
Okay. Except week 1 and 11.
Week 11, programming, there's nothing we can ask because it's all theory based. But you can week 11 will help you write shorter code, simpler code.
Okay.
So, have you checked that list comprehension for when we are append to thing inside the for loop?
Yeah, so I haven't checked it, but I think you can't do it using list comprehension. That is, at least from what we looked at the other day, right? That's what it seems like. You cannot do that, but let me see, right? I have to look at it.
Okay, sir. Actually, I posted that in discourse.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't have an answer that time, even though I don't have. So, I will look into it and get back.
Sir, I have a problem in problems. Can you look on it?
Yeah, so can you paste it in discourse, the code?
Okay.
Right, so whatever code you have, just paste it, I will get back to it. Or if not, you can maybe at the beginning of tomorrow's, Tuesday's session, we can discuss it.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, in last or the last of last session, if we discussed the list comprehension.
Yeah.
And one of the problem we discussed is printing a list, printing a matrix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9.
Right,
That is
right.
list of list by using list comprehension.
Correct, correct.
And we use the formula 3i. I think is 3i plus j plus 1. I think something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it is working only for 3. It is not working for other
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah. Correct. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about. I forgot that. So it should the 3 should be replaced with n. So it should be ni plus 1, ni plus j plus 1. I think.
Ni.
N into I plus j plus 1. That would populate the n by n matrix.
Okay, so
Sorry, sir, when was this list comprehension discussed?
Was discussed, I think, 2 sessions back on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay,
Sir,
so yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Sir, in programming quiz, I think it was in common questions. Question number 7 for me, peak value or high value of a list.
Yeah.
Sir, there was a test cases which was according to me it was the test case was wrong or the answer was test case answer was wrong, I think.
Okay. Which one are you saying? See, there was one test case for which the peak was at the extreme, at the end of the list.
Yeah. Sir,
that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not wrong, right? It's just that there is nothing to the left of it.
No, sir, there was a test cases 10, 20, 30, I think something like that.
Okay.
And the expected answer was 0. 0 or 1, as far as I remember. But actual answer should be 2 or 3, I think something like that.
I am not sure. See, if 0 is the answer, then that is the test case I am talking about. The peak lies at the left end of the list.
Sir, that was in one test case it was 0, that was correct. But in other test case the list was 10, 20, 30, and then I think 25.
Okay, I need to look at it, right? So I'm not too sure what that could have been. Second. Am I sharing anything now?
No.
Okay, just to be safe. Common question. Get peak 30, 25, 10, 1, 10, 20, 30, 28, 25, 26, 20. Is that the one you're talking about? There is one -1, which is the answer.
Yeah.
There no peak, right? There is no peak there. See, 28, 25, then it goes to 26. The idea of a peak is just like a mountain, right? So you can't have a mountain range. So what the list that you're talking about is a mountain range and not a single peak. So I am just pasting it in the chat. Is this the test case you're talking about?
I think so, sir.
See, the answer to this is -1 because 10, 20, 30. So 30 should ideally be the peak, but then it comes down to 28, comes down to 25, but then it increases to 26, right? So there are like 2 peaks in some sense. So the condition given in the question is all elements to the left of the peak should be strictly increasing and all elements to the right of the peak should be strictly decreasing. It cannot increase and then decrease.
Okay, sir, I got that. Yeah.
Okay, so
when can you release the solution of these PPAs?
See, ideally, we are not thinking of releasing at all because these are more like, okay, we'll look into it, right? We'll see if we can release some of them.
Yes, because we can figure out if my code is lengthy, if other code is simpler one, so I could figure out the things more easily.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into it, yeah.
Sir, I have a small doubt regarding list comprehension. Shall I ask?
We will shall we do it in next session? We can either post it in discourse, or we'll just club this with the, make this the first question in the next session.
Okay, sir.
Right? You can always put it in discourse. If not, we'll plug this in the next session.
Sir, one more thing.
Yeah.
Sir, there was a problem of rod problem.
Yeah,
We have to check the maximum price that we can get by selling the rod.
Yeah.
And I solved that problem by the maximum value of the list.
Okay.
And I discussed with it, and you told me to post it in the discourse. I posted in the discourse, was no response yet.
Okay, can you repost it so that I look at it today or tomorrow?
Okay, sir. Sir, I have mentioned you in that post.
Yeah, but see, like many mentions will be there, so I might have missed out on that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. All right then. So I think let's close it at this stage, and we'll continue in the next session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.